Now, Weekend Wellness with Brittany King and Myra Lawrence on CFAX 1070.
Thank you so much for tuning in to CFAX 1070 this morning. Myra Lawrence is here on this Saturday morning. Brittany King is on a well-deserved holiday, and sitting in her place, we have the very talented Robin Hagar. Robin, thanks for being here.
I'm not that talented.
You are quite talented. I like to think so.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in this morning.
Let's get this show over with because I want to go to Greek Fest.
Oh, is that today?
Yeah, it's this weekend. Next weekend, I want to get me some spanakopita, some baklava.
Some keftedes.
Yeah, dolmades.
Oh, dolmades. Aren't those delicious?
All really good. And, well, some of it's really healthy, part of the Mediterranean diet.
Yes, like grape leaves and that brown
and
rice.
Some of
That's
it just, some of it, like anything,
hummus.
it's just treats. Well, yeah, hummus is not really Greek, but yeah.
Well, they think it is. They would claim the hummus.
I think if you asked people in like Lebanon or Israel or that area.
Okay.
But of course, like the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, the grandfather says that they've invented everything. So
that's right. So
they probably according to him, they invented hummus.
I have a lot of Greek friends that would agree with that statement 100%, Robin.
Yeah, right.
But you got to get healthy a little bit before you head off to Greek Fest. So we want to feed you.
Yeah.
We want you to know that you can't just eat spanakopita and rack of lamb all the time. No. So today's show, you know my obsession about these 25 superfoods.
I do. I've been really following because I'm trying to get my life in order when it comes to being eating the right food and being in the right food groups. Here's one group that I need to get out of, and a club, actually. It's a club/group.
Okay. It's
called the Donut Club.
Okay.
I got to get out of that club.
Well, at least you're not in the Cronut
Club. So I need to get in the Good Eatins Club.
Yeah, you need to get in the Green Club.
Yeah.
So far we've talked about avocados, which I just now call avos, and drove Brittany King crazy with those. We had beets. We talked beets last week.
Beat it.
That's right, beet it. So this week we're talking kale.
Mm-hmm.
That leafy vegetable. And we've got Trish Leclair, who's going to join us in a couple seconds here. She's a nutritional therapist, a registered nutritional therapist. She knows all about all things good for us. And then we're talking, I don't know, did you go down Johnson Street this morning? Did you see what was happening?
I got here really early, but I've been hearing about something going out there. There's a lot of people out there.
They have the street blocked off, and they're doing yoga in the street, and they're stretching in the street, and they're doing a workout in the street. So it's amazing. It's put on, I think, by Lululemon and Body Dynamics headquarters. So we're gonna phone up Michelle Shorter and ask what is going on in downtown
That's
Victoria.
kind of crazy because you think, okay, traffic, it's the street, it's downtown, it's crazy, and yet yoga is supposed to be this sort of quiet, in your own space, spiritual thing. It's kind of like an oxymoron.
Very.
On the street.
Yeah.
But apparently it's working.
No, it's very zen and Lojo right now. People are cross-legged and going, so I was like, we have to find out what's happening there. And then CrossFit. I like CrossFit. CrossFit kind of gets a bit of a bad rap. I think it's a misunderstood sport.
I think it's a very new thing and people aren't really sure what it is. I think when people hear about it, they're like, there's no way I could accomplish that. That is way too hard. I don't want my heart rate going at 200 miles an hour.
It doesn't have to.
Are you sure?
Well, you know what?
I'm a little afraid of it.
Okay, well, Deanna Whiteley is coming in, and she knows all things CrossFit.
Okay.
She owns the CrossFit Zone in downtown Victoria and in Langford, so she's going to come in. Be careful. She's got big arms, though, so you might not want to
I will arm wrestle her to death match arm wrestle.
All right, here we go. All right, let's start today's show then.
Loser's got to do the yoga in the street.
There you go. That's not a bad... That should be for the winner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
sure.
All right, let's bring in our first guest. Trish Leclair is here to talk to us about why we need to eat more kale. Trish, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, superfoods. We talk about these superfoods. Can you tell me what makes a food super?
If it's really highly nutrient dense compared to other foods. And kale is one of those. It's highly nutrient dense. It has way more iron than even beef. So that goes to show you that, and that's just one thing.
Why do I need more iron? What is iron good for in my body?
Well, iron helps with many things. It's great for your red blood cells carry oxygen throughout your system, and they need iron to do that. So it helps with circulation. It helps with your liver detoxification and it's needed for every cell and enzyme in your body.
Okay.
What is the benefit of vitamin K? I've heard this before in terms of losing weight.
Ooh.
Well, vitamin K is needed for many functions in the body, and It's especially needed for, it's like anti-cancer, and it helps with blood clotting, prevention of blood clotting, and it helps with people with Alzheimer's. So it's there. I mean, you can look up on the internet, and that's a good thing about having the internet, is if you want to know any of these, you can just Google it, and every nutrient has so many functions and benefits in the body that it's really hard to memorize all of them. But, just know that our cells do live for a certain amount of days, and if we want to create healthy new cells, we have to give our body all the tools, the building blocks that it needs to make your body healthy. So if you put in garbage, you're going to get sick. And so if you put in the right things, then your body can utilize them and create healthy new cells, and you'll feel more energy and vitality.
So kale's been readily available for a very long time. It's certainly gotten more popular recently. But it's not like, Mother Nature didn't put it on the planet 3 years ago. It's been around forever. What holds this vegetable back from being popular?
Yeah.
What do you think? It's kind of weird. It's there. It's
like
right
the
beside all the
ugly
lettuce.
stepchild.
And then you kind of, maybe people aren't familiar with what it is. They look at it. It kind of looks foreign. It looks kind of hard to eat. What do you think? What's holding this vegetable back?
Well, a few years ago when my son was little, he had this iguana, and I remember feeding it kale and tasting this leafy thing and thinking that it didn't have much flavor and that I didn't really like it. And then I discovered how good it was for you, so I started experimenting, and I love making homemade soups and stews, and so I put it in there, and I found out you can make kale chips, and so I made some for my son and my stepdaughter and some of my son's friends, and they loved it. And I thought, well, it's way healthier than real chips, and all you do is bake them, and you can put a little bit of olive oil and sea salt, and if you want to put pepper and other herbs, and they are very tasty that way. So there's a lot of things you can do to be creative with it.
Because sometimes when you're just looking at kale and you're just eating kale, like I'll eat it and I'll put it in smoothies, but sometimes you feel like you're eating grass. Like you're chewing on some dandelions.
Unto itself, I found that if you steam it, and Trish, you can tell us if there's a downside to steaming it or not. Does it lose any of its nutrients? But I tend to like to steam it because it just really brings out more of the positive flavor as opposed to the tartness in it.
Yeah, steaming is a really good way to cook your vegetables because it does keep the nutrients in. You just don't want to over steam. You want to steam it to till it's slightly crispy. But with kale is actually part of the cruciferous vegetables, and that's just a family of vegetables that includes cauliflower, broccoli, bok choy, cabbage, all those kinds of things. And so they actually have what is called goitrogens, and supposedly they're thyroid inhibitors. And so when you cook them, it destroys these goitrogens. So then you're actually getting more benefit by cooking the kale, slightly cooking, and that's why I like to add it to my soups and stews and stuff like that.
So steam, cook, but don't over. Well, I guess in the case of a soup, you would be cooking.
Yeah.
The kale out of it.
Cooking the kale out of it. There is a restaurant in town that Adam Swatsky profiled on his Monday segment where they actually don't cook their kale. They massage their kale.
Really?
I'm not kidding. They massage the kale, and then that way it keeps all its nutrients in it. But if you massage it, it'll make it softer. And then what they do is they keep the juice and cook with the juice.
Like anybody that gets a massage, you talk to that
Chill.
person, they're a little bit softer after.
See? Isn't that good? Yeah. What about smoothies? They're hard to break up though, because when you put kale in the smoothie, should you put the whole stem in? Because the stem's quite hard. Sometimes I pull it off the stem, but can you eat the stem? Yeah,
and actually, when you chop up or when you chew the kale, it actually helps to release some phytonutrients, which have more potent anti-cancer properties. So having it broken down is actually a good way to release these.
How much kale can you eat? Can you consume before, maybe there's a detrimental effect? I mean, not that you would want. Can you eat it every day, for example?
Well, as a nutritional therapist, I do focus on variety because every fruit and vegetable has different nutrients and antioxidants and phytonutrients that our body needs. So we can't just put one thing in. And if you eat too much of one thing, you can develop food sensitivity to it. So it's everything, in moderation, but you want to eat more of these superfoods. And, you can look them up on the internet, superfoods, and there's tons of information of which foods are considered a superfood. And they're basically very highly nutrient dense. So you don't need as much of these to get the nutrients your body needs. And it's also low in calories. It helps, any of these vegetables have a low glycemic index, so they don't affect insulin, and it helps to keep your blood sugar balanced. So there's a lot of benefits from that.
If you're serving a meal with kale, what's your meal of choice? If kale's your side dish.
Well, I like to steam it with other vegetables. So I usually put a bunch of different vegetables, and I really enjoy the flavor of the variety, and that way you're not just getting one.
Great. All right. I believe we have a caller that has a question for you here, Trish. We have Linda on the line from Langford. Linda, thanks so much for calling in.
Thank you. Hi. Do you know of any foods that decrease pain or rather decrease inflammation?
Oh, yes.
Yes. A lot of foods have anti-inflammatory properties. Kale is one of them. I actually really like herbs because they've been used for thousands of years for medicinal property. And turmeric is one of them. It helps with joint pain. It has anti-cancer properties. It's in curry. It has a lot of those types of benefits. But also we have the omega-3 fatty acids that are anti-inflammatory. So I'd have to kind of assess your symptoms to figure out what is causing the pain.
Traffic accident.
Oh.
7 years ago.
Yeah. So do you do some weight or some strength training? Because strengthening your body is really beneficial. When I had my car accident, I had severe pain in my upper back and shoulders, and I started doing strength training and just moderation, even yoga, just anything that will strengthen those muscles really helps.
Linda, we're going to have Michelle Shorter in, who is an expert in this area of fitness of all kinds, whether it be strength, stretching, yoga. She's just, longtime resident of Victoria, and we'll make sure that we ask her that question about helping people with sort of chronic pain due to car accidents and inflammatory and so forth. Interesting enough about inflammation and herbs and turmeric. We were in Thailand last year, and a lot of mosquitoes in Thailand, depending on where you are. But in the place where the mosquitoes were pretty aggressive, and so when you would get a bite, you would take a piece of turmeric, cut it so it's open, and it really looks like ginger or garlic kind of, and you would just rub it, and it would bring down the itching, which is the inflammation. It would bring it down within 5 minutes. It was unbelievable.
What about spirulina? I was taking spirulina to stop inflammation. That green powder, does that work too?
Yeah, spirulina is really beneficial in many things too. It's one of the superfoods. And what I would get is you can go to any health food store, even Superstore now has. It's called Greens Plus.
Yep.
And I would get the original kind because it doesn't have like gluten or soy or dairy. And it has tons and tons of green foods and herbs, and so you're getting a huge amount of nutrients all condensed into one powder that you can just put a scoop in your smoothie or just in a glass of water every day.
There you go, Linda. Go and grab your Greens Plus from your local store and start taking that turmeric. I guess you can rub it on injuries or eat it as it is. So thanks so much to Trish Leclair for all your information today on kale. Of course, we're going to have you back to talk a bit more about herbs. That is your passion. We'll have you back on another time. And Linda, please stay listening because we're going to bring Michelle Shorter up after a quick break, and she's going to talk about yoga in the streets and all these exercises you can do to help chronic injury. Stay tuned.
From personal training to sports physiotherapy, chiropractic shockwave, and surgical rehabilitation, Synergy Health Center has you covered. Visit synergyhealthmanagement.com.